That's a massive hologram. To get here, we had to build a deck of 3,000 cards and play the slowest hand in Balatro history. Boosting hologram means that we need to build an absolutely massive deck. So we need to stack every form of card production we can imagine. And there are some nice approaches that should synergize well. And we also need a hologram as early as possible because we need to stack this guy from the start. I skipped the first round because cash is nice. An investment tag early means that we actually can afford all the cool things that we want. Now I have no idea what Balatro is like for anyone else, but every single round I play seems to have a negative Perkeo. I just have him on speed dial because he is absolutely critical to most of the insane experiments that we want to do. So far I've added exactly 0 cards to my deck. It's not a very strong start, but a hermit is nice. Now we can print cash. And we can gamble on an invisible man. Hopefully he wants to pretend to be something useful and not just a second fist. It would be more normal to have 2 of them than 1 though. But if we end up with invisible fists, how do we even know how many we have? Egg Boy is the first sacrifice because certificate is one of the key pieces that we need. We can now print 3 cards every time we enter a blind. Hopefully we get a lot of purple seals as well and we can run the tarot card lottery. And the invisible man actually paid off. 50% more blueprints that we can apply to exactly one thing so far. I also need to make sure I buy every single card pack and hopefully we can find the playing card voucher reasonably early. If the plan is to print 1,000,000 cards, Baron seems like a reasonable score choice. The certificate card printer is extremely unreliable. It will be literally a random card with a random seal. So the Baron needs to charm the certificate or some other madness to make it actually work and be useful. More cards is more good, but more cards that are completely random is also just more madness that is completely impossible to manage. And I've already changed my mind on what is the best deck for this, so I like Anaglyph deck. More negative tags is a lot of fun. But while it's possible to rip a cryptid or whatever we need out of the Sixth Sense or Seance, it's tricky and unreliable to do, so why not just make it easy, get the spectral cards in the shop, and that way we can get all of them and not just cryptid. And some of you big brains out there might think that incantation is better than cryptid. We get 4 cards for the price of 1 instead of 2. But incantation is random numbered cards, not something we can reliably use to score, so I'm thinking cryptid is less cards, but we will last 20 antes longer, and that way we can supercharge cryptids, certificate and DNA, and whatever else we find along the way. Hallucination is unlikely to do much good, but this is basically what I do when I come up with the ideas for whatever I'm doing. And this is why a double tag was important. We can skip a negative tag into the next ante, so we can't prepare the shop. But DNA happens to be second in line here, so 1 tag is all we need, and we get 1 really useful Joker for free. Hallucination opening with a Hanged Man is also perfect. It's the most banned card I can imagine. So if we are to build a deck worthy of Mordor, we can't remove cards, that's insane. We would keep the multiplier on the hologram even if we remove the cards, but a smaller deck is just not the same. Normally this would be an awful spectral pack, but now we just get 6 cards for free. So maybe this time we won't have a Joker setup that is just a pile of random garbage. We will have a hand and deck that is just random garbage. Everything we find, slap it in there. And with Ghost deck, of course, I'm hoping to find a red seal in the shop. I can stick that on a Steel King. We can make him nice and cool and then duplicate him into insanity. But for now we just have to pray that the certificate delivers, and it's not delivering anything of value whatsoever. Fantastic, a campfire, the biggest scam in the Balatro universe. It's very easy to stack if you have some cash, but last time I had 704 planets that I sold, and I got exactly 0 multiplier. Also the plant, so we are trying to do a Baron King setup, but with the huge deck setup and just random garbage go type of cards. If your deck is just huge enough, you can do whatever you want. You are prepared for anything. We can create 10s, whatever we please. Unlimited power, probably. Cash is a huge problem here, and with a lot of face cards, Midas would be amazing, but we don't have the golden ticket, so we leave him to rot in the shop and we move on, focusing on the one true goal, creating a deck so large that it cannot fit on the screen. So what happens when the deck is so large it goes off screen? We will find out once we pass roughly 1,000 cards. The lack of cash has already come back to bite me, and no matter how many golden boys we stack, he will never solve all or even one single of our financial problems. So there is a negative tag here. It could be used for something better, but with the lack of cash, the choice has been made for me. And we get a golden ticket. There's only one problem with this now, because the deck is just ever expanding. So if you're looking for a specific card in this mess of a deck, we're going to have nothing but problems. One more hand size is one more king, but I'm just instead thinking it's one more blueprint. We can print more cryptids, we can print more whatever random garbage the certificate is doing, and we can charge the DNA with one more blueprint. Now we have to pixel hunt to even click the deck to open it. Subscribe if you like big decks and if you want more ridiculous experiments like this. So we are bordering on a deck that is so beautiful that it's beyond what the human mind can comprehend, and we might never be able to see it again. And if we somehow invent a way to view the entire deck, our brains will explode. And because it's huge, there is a lot to see, but all I can really see is that I have at least 4 rocks of different suits and 555 kings. The rest is just whatever random nonsense. If I spend all my retirement savings, can I find a boss I can beat? Because there is only one. Of course not amazing, so the plant when we have mostly kings, but we do have a deck size of 1,822 cards, plus whatever extra we get when we go in. We can maybe slap the plant out of existence with that. I did also bring Mr. Disco Bones, but I don't think he can save this, whatever we're doing. And that is a decent hologram, but it turns out there is actually one deck that has higher potential to be massive. So now we have a spectral card problem, but we find a Seance, which was actually super useful in the last video. Now I don't have Saturn anymore, so there are no bugged consumable slots or bugged Joker slots. So we just have to roll the dice again, hope we find a cryptid. But any of the other spectral cards that create more cards so that we can stack the deck with infinite cards are also sort of acceptable. We were lucky with the Invisible Man earlier, and he has almost a 50% chance to land a blueprint again, so let's bring him. I'm printing more cash, and I'm going to use this first negative tag for something useful as well. We don't actually need the double tag now. It's for the next one, but we can bring one more random guy along for the ride. So far, the deck has one more slot than normal. Getting a negative Baron means we have saved one more slot, so far we have room for 2 more blueprints, and we should be able to make room for one more extra when we get to ante 17. So earlier we had 5 re-triggers, 4 blueprints and a brainstorm. We should be able to get up to 8. And we also get 4 times the value out of the blueprints. We apply them to Perkeo to print cryptids. Then we slap them on the certificate, we make random cards. Then we switch over to the DNA, we make more cards, but now actually the cards that we want. And then finally we can power up the Baron with all the blueprints, and we can score and hopefully live all the way to ante 39, printing as many cards as we possibly can, only so we can build a glorious, absolutely enormous deck. And also scale the hologram, that was the plan. So hopefully I have not been completely sidetracked with other stuff, and we will actually see the number on that guy at least twice. And as always, we need to shuffle the showman in and out to stay as optimal as possible but still use his incredible power. I'm also undecided on Seance, because while we have cryptids, that's the main cool thing. An ectoplasm would be even better, we could just slap in even more slots. The hand size trade-off is still a problem with the Baron for scoring, but since we get 4 times the value out of the blueprints, maybe it's still better, who knows. So far we don't even need to use the cryptids, just spawning cards with DNA is enough to score, so we're just stacking the pile bigger and bigger. It's never going to compare to the real deck we're building, but the secondary pile can still stack with the main pile for more pile, which is more good. We can recycle the certificate, so we have one more target for an ectoplasm or a cooler wheel. And after throwing the showman back in the trash pile where he belongs, we have 6 blueprints in ante 19. And as is tradition, 2 seconds after throwing away the showman, we do find an ectoplasm. We now have room for one more thing, but we need to find specifically a brainstorm or the showman, carry him, throw him out again whenever we find one more blueprint. When we get to a point where the deck is too big to see, the hologram man is only at 160. So this is the deck, what it looked like the last time we can see it. And now imagine slamming another 2,000 cards in there. Maybe there is a solid reason why you can't view the deck once it goes over 900 something cards. So the only way to learn what is in the deck is second-hand data from the shop. So we have 49s. It's not something I needed to know, but we can bring this thing until we find something cooler. So for a while here we could speedrun things. I don't have to play many hands and the procedure is exactly the same every time. But big deck means big problems, so the game is now starting to lag. It takes about 4 hours to pack away the fraction of the deck that we use in a round. Thankfully we never even need to access the bottom like 98% of that thing, so it can just sit there and look impressive. We are starting to dent the cryptid pile now, and I am considering a mime. But it turns out that I'm also extremely greedy, so I've passed up a lot of mimes in the shop only to keep one more blueprint and print more cards. And the showman, disco as he is not cool enough to keep 8 re-triggers after throwing the showman out again. We push it to the limit. But really, how much of this is just throw out the showman, gain a joker slot, hunt down the showman, throw away the showman, and so on into insanity infinity? When I decide that I want a mime, of course he does not exist. I don't know how long we will live with the current setup, but we would likely run out of cryptids by ante 35 or somewhere around there. So even though more blueprints is the cooler setup, just trading that for one mime, we can spend so many less cryptids and we can make more cards in the long run. When he finally shows up, the only logical choice is to throw away the brainstorm. Because we don't even need a showman to find one of those again if we don't like the mime. And it's nice when the long play pays off, so I recycled the certificate a million years ago. It's now a discofficate, very cool. Actually that sounds horrible. And the mime difference, we had 30 steel kings in hand before, now we had 19 and we're scoring higher. So we're saving like 5.5 cryptid per round. Very nice. And the antimatter finally. Get me the showman, we need him back. Yet again. Or do we just get old Mr. Disco Bones in here? It's not like he's going to have even a fraction of a chance to save this. And the negative seance, now we can print ectoplasms for days. With 1600 cards, pulling a straight flush I'm gonna say is just impossible. Unless of course the certificate prints one all on its own. It's a little bit disappointing that we will never be able to see what is actually in the deck. Is it perfectly balanced? Is it a horrible mess? All I know for certain is that we have the 49s at least and a couple of kings. And finally in ante 36 we have a brainstorm, showman is out, and we are back to 8 re-triggers, but we also have the mime. So the mime math was good, right? He doesn't look like much of a math magician, but he sure can mime up a colossal deck. At this point the game is very slow, it's a horrible lag fest, and this entire channel is basically now a masterclass in how to not play Balatro. On the plus side, we also land a disco brainstorm. Now it's guaranteed that we can live all the way, and we still have so many cryptids to spend. And we do learn a bit more about the deck. We have 288 multiplier on a steel boy. It's like we're doing some archaeological dig and we're just learning piece by piece whatever madness is going on the right side of the screen. So with all the lag, I'm looking forward to this being over. I'm not looking forward to individually clicking every single cryptid just to stack it into the deck pile. The shop ends on Jimbo, Sixth Sense and a Showman. I can't imagine a more fitting, terrible triplet to end this on. After Certificate and DNA, we have a hologram at 461. We have 14 kings in hand, 288 cryptids and 2,541 cards. Certificate spawned cards are only added after the round, so it should be 2550.
2,000 years later.
With 590 Steel Kings in hand, I pressed play just to see what happens. How long do you think this hand took to play? Drop your answer in the comments. And finally we have hologram at 605 multiplier, 3,126 cards in the deck. If you want more Balatro madness, here's a video you might like. Thank you for watching.